Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara, aka Intuit Mama, and I'm so happy to have you back. This is my second video, and I'm just really thrilled to be able to share some of my experiences here on this platform. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about being an HSP, what that is, and how that affects or can affect your daily life as a parent and parenting. I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal experiences as an HSP, as well as being an HSP as a parent. Before I begin, I just want to start off by thanking everyone that has shown me some love and support on my first video, especially my FTP family. I'm so thankful for the support and all the likes, all the subscribers, all the comments. I truly appreciate it. It's motivating me to get out there more, show myself more, and post some more videos and experiences. So again, just thank you so much for being here. I'm truly grateful. Okay, so what is an HSP? HSP stands for highly sensitive person or highly sensitive child. I guess that would be HSC, but HSPs are highly sensitive people. So what that means is they have heightened sensitivity to stimuli or external stimuli, internal and external, I should say. And that can include things like emotions, other people's emotions, feeling that on a deep level, noise, and any kind of environmental factors. It can be noise, it can be smells, it can be textures of food, textures of clothing. It's just a heightened sensitivity, and it can be a lot. It can be a lot. So if that resonates with any of you, stick around. I'm going to get into that a little bit as far as what that looks like as a parent. I am a highly sensitive person. I've recently discovered in the last few years. It feels kind of validating, to be honest, to be able to put a label on it for me. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences growing up as a highly sensitive child and how that played out for me. And yeah, now as a parent, I have a highly sensitive child. One out of my two biological kids is highly sensitive. And what that looks like from a parenting aspect, and also parenting a child who's not an HSP and is more loud and outgoing and spontaneous and all these things that can be dysregulating, on top of how dysregulating parenting can be on its own. So yeah, so there's a few things I want to talk about with my personal experience being an HSP. I was born in the 80s, and I don't think there was even a label for people such as myself or children such as myself. There wasn't as much information out there at the time for these really special kids. With that being said, there's also these really special kids coming and being born into the world that are here to help heal, to help change in the shift, to help raise the vibration. And that's another thing I'm going to touch on as well. But yeah, so I was a highly sensitive kid, and it was really disruptive for me because what happened was I ended up feeling like a burden on my family. They didn't know, that I was highly sensitive or how to deal with that. I was basically just really annoying, I think, to them. And for me, being an empath and empathetic and being HSP, I felt that a lot, and I kind of carried the weight of that. And I remember nights crying in my bed and praying to God that God would change me and just make me normal. And I know it's kind of sad, but I'm so thankful now as an adult, and now having access to information, thankfully, I understand what an HSP is, and it was very, like I said, validating to be able to get that label for myself. And to discover that I wasn't alone, and there's many other people with the same sort of sensitivities as me. So that felt really good. And I'm going to reference some of the resources and books that I've used that helped me kind of discover this about myself. I'll link them down below. But yeah, so I used to this is how I knew I was an HSP. Once I started reading into it, I basically ticked off all the boxes, and so does my son. But I was very sensitive to fabric textures, like tags. No, I still cut tags out of all my clothes. I don't understand why they put tags in clothes. Like, we don't need those. They're so scratchy. Like textures on like a scratchy couch, or like wool clothing. Everything I wear is really soft and loose and flowy. Bamboo sheets. I can't deal with like flannel sheets and stuff. And noise was really triggering for me as a kid. I had an older sister, and she was a teenager when I was a kid, and she would blast, well, I considered it blasting music. I don't think anybody else did. I found it very loud, and something that used to really overstimulate me, but I didn't know what was happening at the time, was if she had her like music playing, but then the TV was also on at the same time. So like it still bothers me today, but I know how to regulate myself now, and I understand what's happening. So I'm able to deal with it a lot better. But when I was a kid, I would just become so overwhelmed, and I didn't know how to articulate what was happening in my body, what I was feeling, and what I was needing. And so it would trigger my parents, and it would trigger everyone else in my house. So anyway, she would have like music on, and then the TV would be playing, and I would be hearing the two sounds at the same time. And that was really stressful. It was really stressful for me, and it caused a lot of anxiety. You know, I was never really a picky eater, but certain textures of food, just like anything to me that seems like sharp and like scratchy and pointy and, you know, jagged, like I like things to be really soft and smooth, you know, and that feels really good to my senses, for my sensory. Yeah, smells were brutal for me. And again, living in the 80s, and I grew up in Montreal, and back then I think like everybody smoked, and I think they still do, to be honest, in Montreal. But yeah, I was going to my grandparents' house, and literally everyone in the house would be smoking with the windows closed, because it would be freezing cold, and it was just like you could cut the smoke with a knife. It was brutal, and that sounds like awful today with what we know and how bad it is for you, but hey, it was the 80s, am I right? So anyway, yeah, the smells of the smoke, I think that would bother anybody, but for a highly sensitive person, it was this like extra brutal. I felt like I would throw up. I'd get bad headaches and all that stuff. So yeah, those are just a few examples, but it really bothered me because, like I said, I didn't know how to express what I was feeling in my body. And for me, it would feel like anxiety, and it would feel like stress, and I would become so overwhelmed. And I would beg for my parents to turn the TV down. I would beg for my sister to turn the music down, and they would be like, it's down all the way. Like, we can't turn it any lower or we're not going to be able to hear it. Literally, they would say this to me. And I wouldn't be able to sleep if I could hear it. And back then, again, there was like no white noise machines or like any of that stuff. It was like, you're on your own, kid, like figure it out. But I am also an empath, which comes with being an HSP. So I really feel other people's energy. I really feel other people's emotions. And as a kid, you don't know how to differentiate that those emotions may not be yours, but I could pick up on the anger, the annoyance that I was causing. And they told me, like, you know, you're annoying, basically. I love my family, but this is just the case of what it was. And I'm sure it would have annoyed me too. Like, it was a lot. But just, again, not having the tools that we have now to be able to recognize what's going on and have some compassion and just be able to sort of like make things a little bit more comfortable. Anyway, so yeah, I would feel that, and it really upset me, and I would wish that I could be more like my sister who didn't have any of these issues. And I would wish that like I said, I would pray, crying, just please make me normal, please make me normal, because I just didn't want these things to bother me anymore. Like, I wish that it wasn't an issue. I wish I could just go to sleep and the sound of the TV being on wouldn't affect me, So it's, they're minute things, but for a little person, it's kind of a big deal. And now going into being in adulthood and understanding that I'm an HSP, I still have a lot of these triggers. Thankfully, I have a really understanding and supportive partner. He kind of laughs about some of my neuroses and my stuff. But he also benefits from them. Like the bamboo sheets, like you can't go back after you get bamboo sheets. Like, those are the best. But like certain things, like noise, like the windshield wiper going on, if it's on like if he's running the windshield wiper on a dry windshield, it like, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. I hate it. So I'm like, turn it off. But there's things like that. But thankfully he's very understanding, and he doesn't have the same reaction that I used to cause from people in my childhood, which was just like, are you fucking kidding me, basically. So yeah, being a parent that's an HSP is a different story. I find that I do still get very overstimulated. I have 2 kids. We live in, which is just, there's a lot going on with that, whether it's like Cocomelon on the TV, and then, a video game going, and then a toy that's like making a bunch of noise, and then, the microwave's beeping, the dog's barking, the cat's meowing, like it's chaotic. And what I've learned is that I have to regulate myself and do things for myself that help regulate my nervous system when I get into a place of overwhelm. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. So I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but there's a lot of challenges that come with being an HSP, especially an HSP parent. You can really easily be overwhelmed by the noise and the chaos, and it can trigger you to become emotionally reactive. You can be sensitive to your partner's emotions or your children's emotions, and learning how to separate their emotions from yours is really important, because it can cause you to react in a more heightened and reactive way. It also can be difficult to establish boundaries, which is, again, some of the work that I've been working on for a while, within the parenting realm and just with my own spiritual healing that I'm doing. And there's also positive aspects to being an HSP as well. One of them for me personally is seeing it and recognizing it in my son, and being able, now I have the capacity to offer compassion, patience. I can recognize when he's overwhelmed. I can recognize when something's bothering him, but he's not sure how to let me know that. I just automatically cut tags out of his clothes when he finds certain fabrics itchy or scratchy. I'm just like, that's cool, I get it. I don't get angry with him about it. I think being an HSP kind of goes hand in hand with being an empath, because you're just attuned to emotional states a little bit more. And so there's a lot more empathy, and that kind of goes with the compassion that I have for my son, especially when he's going through some of these highly sensitive things and some rigidity. It's a neuroses, almost like there's a lot of rigidity for him. It's like structure and rules, and he creates these rules for himself, and just trying to hold compassion around some of that and what his needs are regarding that. So yeah, within all that chaos, it's and recognizing if this resonates with you and you do feel like you are an HSP, starting to resource some things that can help. And this whole spiritual awakening that I've been going through, and healing process and healing old wounds and traumas kind of goes hand in hand with that. So a lot of it is regulating your nervous system and showing up to the day and showing up to the day with a regulated and grounded self, and also recognizing your triggers and recognizing when you're triggered, when that anxiety starts to build. For me, it feels like anxiety when you're getting short, which happens for me a lot. I start to be way more reactive, and I don't want to be that parent. I really want to come at my kids. I want them to recognize me as being a safe place, not a reactive place, especially for my son who can pick up on my emotions, right? So, so a lot of self-care, and I know that's, challenging when you're a parent. Like, there's so many things like self-care and do all these things, but it's really important if you really want to show up for your kids in the best way possible, which if you're here, I think you do. And it's important for you. It's important for you to have a regulated system so that you can be the best version of yourself. So some of the things that I do personally that have been working for me is I start the day with a meditation. It's a devoted practice that I've been doing for the last few months. I try to do it daily. I get up early. I set my alarm and get up before my kids and my partner wake up, so that it doesn't create a disruption in the day, and I feel free to take as much time as I need to sit in meditation and receive whatever I need to receive for that day. I like to set an intention to be grounded in my day and continue to recognize when I'm being overstimulated and when I'm needing a timeout, essentially. So yeah, meditation and intention setting. I also take time to journal in the morning and write down my dreams, and it's just a practice. Instead of just getting up and, you're with your kids right away, it's just like chaos immediately. Like, if you can, I understand that it's hard. You have to recognize, like, you have to do this for yourself. It's really important, and you can go to bed earlier and try to wake up a little bit earlier, even if it's 10 minutes and you're just able to like have 10 minutes of quiet time before the chaos begins. I find it so helpful for me to arrive to the day from that point. And I do this every day. For me, I get up about an hour before my kids because I like to have lots of time, and I'm a little bit more of a morning person. So I know not everybody is, but just a little bit of time in the morning instead of just waking up and being in the chaos is going to really set the tone for the rest of your day. So getting up for me, meditating, journaling, making my bed, and then I have my coffee, and then the chaos begins. But I've done all these things to ground myself, to center myself, and I find that I'm able to have more space available for my parenting, for my partner, and all those good things. Another thing that I do that I don't do as regularly, but I find it really helpful, and I actually want to tap into it a little bit more, is breathwork. I'm not a, breathwork facilitator. I don't have any certifications, but there's a lot of breathwork available online. I can link some of my favorites that I use down below. I have an app called Insight Timer, and there's a lot of breathwork courses on there and just like guided meditations that I use. And that's something you can do if you like to do it in the morning. It can really energize you. There's certain ones that can really like energize you for the day, which is great. I do it more like throughout the day when I start to get that external stimuli and I'm feeling that overwhelm. I will remember it's just a mindfulness practice, but I try to remember, like, okay, find the breath, finding the breath and bringing an awareness to that already immediately centers me and grounds me, and then I have a little bit more. And then if I have more time or anything available, I can try to go into a breathwork practice, whether that's just like the 1, 2, 3, 4 counts on the inhale, and then holding at the top for 4, exhaling on 4 counts, and holding at the bottom and doing this over. It's called box breath. I find that really helpful when I start to feel stress and anxiety. So that's a really useful tool, and that's just what works for me. You can kind of dive into some of these. There's so many online, and just like Google breathwork, and you'll find some breathwork meditations, and you'll find some stuff, and you can find what works for you and what feels good in your body. But I will post some links to some of the ones that I like personally. Another thing that I do, I consider this personal care, is taking care of my energy space. So my aura, my energy space, this container, I've learned as a highly sensitive person, as an empath, to manage my energy and recognize when I'm taking on other people's energy. And that's not my thing to take care of. It's up to them to take care of themselves, just like I'm taking care of myself. Part of that is boundary setting, which has been really hard because I'm a people pleaser, and that there's a lot of like old wounds around that, and but boundary setting has actually been one of the most healing things for me, especially around certain people and family members. Boundary setting with your kids, obviously, like you can be a gentle parent, you can be a conscious parent. They need boundaries. They need that to help them, to guide them and help them grow. So that's really important, setting boundaries and sticking to them with them, firm boundaries, but also with the adult people in your life, saying no when you need to say no. I say no a lot now. I say no a lot. It just feels, setting boundaries with people for me feels like I am protecting my energy. And that feels like a very loving thing to do for myself. And if I am giving love to myself, if I'm putting love back into my heart, if I'm protecting my energy, protecting myself, then I'm able to give more to my kids, give more to my partner, and give more going outward to other people. Boundary setting is another big one that I consider part of self-care for sure, especially for highly sensitive people. Okay, so I'm just remembering, I needed to put this on here, and forgive my editing if this is terrible. I'm not an editor. I'm doing my best, but one of the smells that used to drive me crazy as a kid was my dad had this aerosol deodorant that he used all the time. I can't remember what it was called, but it was in like a blue can with an orange lid. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this before, but like, it bothered me so much as a kid, and he would use it every day, and it just was like, to me, the way I can describe it is a sharp smell. Like, so he would spray it, and then like it would get everywhere, and like I could see the plumes of whatever the F it was that he was spraying on his armpits, and it was just like so stinky. It's probably just all chemicals, and it would bother me so much, and it would give me a headache, and I'd be like, Mom, it's giving me a headache. I can't do it. And I was probably like really whiny because, again, I was a kid and didn't know how to communicate these problems effectively. And she would just be like, okay, like whatever. But yeah, that was one of the things, like these certain things like that I still remember. Like, it was this aerosol deodorant, and it was just like, I can't even, it was awful. So I needed to share that because it was one of those horrible smell sensitivities that I had no control over. And that's the other thing, being a kid, like you have no control over what other people are doing. And you're in this world of like disruption and stress, and it's causing you anxiety, and you're getting headaches and these smells, and you can't communicate effectively what's bothering you and what's happening, and you're annoying people and pissing people off because you're whining about it. So it's a lot, and I think it creates a lot of trauma for kids. So I'm so grateful that there is information out there now regarding HSP, and that I have the tools now as a parent to be able to have compassion and parent better for my HSP kid. So anyway, thanks for listening about that. I just want to touch on a little bit more about having an HSP kid as an HSP parent and what that looks like. I don't know if any of you have that, or maybe some of these things are kind of like, yeah, that sounds like my kid, or yeah, that sounds like me, you know. Check out the links that I've put below, and you're going to find some resources regarding that, and you can kind of do your own digging if this is kind of new information for you, but it's resonating. But yeah, being a parent to my HSP son, he's actually on the waiting list right now to be assessed for ASD, so autism. And I think those two things can kind of blur into each other. Maybe, you know, on one end of the autism spectrum, like a milder form of autism can also be sort of like a higher HSP type of kid. So yeah, he's got all these sensitivities and things like that. So he's on a wait list where I live right now. It's a 2-year wait list to be assessed for autism. So he's been on the wait list for about a year. So we're just waiting to hear back from them regarding an assessment, and we'll find out from there whether it's labeled as autism. But for me right now, I just have an awareness that he's highly sensitive, and it's been helpful actually for me to know and recognize these traits within myself and what they are. Like when I started reading this book, I can't remember I think it's The Highly Sensitive Child, so I'm gonna post that link below. When I started reading that, I was just like, this sounds like me, this sounds like me, this sounds like me when I was a kid. And I was just like, all these things, and it was just like so much validation to be like, sorry, my dog is walking around click-clacking in the background. Frankie, lie down. Clickety-clacking. We love him, but he's loud and he's big. Lie down, buddy. I think he's gonna make a cameo in all of my videos, it seems. Lie down. So anyway, yeah, recognizing these traits in myself and then seeing them in him, and then yes, seeing these validating points from some of these books and resources online and things like that that I've noticed. It's just really helped me be so much more compassionate. Like I said earlier, just being able to recognize when he's getting overstimulated, when what happens with him is that he starts to shut down. So there's certain parenting styles that really don't work for him. Like say, for example, my husband and I are like he's very, very, very slow. And so we are aware of this. So we try to give him a lot of time, a lot of mental preparation. Like, okay, we're leaving it in this amount of time. And okay, now it's time to get dressed. Okay, now it's time to brush your teeth. Okay, now it's time to do this. And it's a lot of steps, and we do this every day. Like there's nothing surprising, you know. He definitely doesn't handle change very well. So we're not throwing surprises at him. We keep the structured routine pretty much the same every day. And he still will run late because he just moves so slowly, and he doesn't have the cues in his system to be like, oh, we gotta hurry. Even if we're like rushing him, he doesn't go any faster. So when we're in a state of like our own dysregulation and our own stress and trying to get him moving, and he's not doing it, and we're just like, come on, you know, and regretfully sometimes raising our voices and trying to just make an impact, like move, we gotta go. He shuts down, and it's almost like he stops in his tracks, and it makes him slower. And then it's like, I'm like, for me, and I think my husband's recognizing this better as well, but it's like a recognition. It's like, okay, this isn't working, and now we're going slower, and now we've completely stopped. So what can we do here? So it's like getting down on his level, asking for what he needs, you know, just understanding that if we're late, we're late, like it is what it is, and bringing more compassion into the parenting which helps a lot. But for him, he definitely starts to completely shut down when he becomes overstimulated. And when my husband and I are overstimulated and our nervous systems are kind of wreaking havoc, he feels that and he shuts down. So it's this co-regulating thing that we have to do, and just bringing patience and compassion. So parenting in HSP can be really difficult, especially if you are in HSP. It can be great because you're able to quickly recognize there's like cues and there's sort of triggers and things like that. And then you can pick up on that, and you can hold a lot of space around it and hold a lot of compassion. But it can also be like reflecting the triggers in your own self. And then aren't children great how they do this? But the triggers are our guides, the triggers are our teachers. And if we follow that, then we can bring that back to ourselves. We can take that with us into our mindfulness, our daily mindfulness practice, whatever that might look like. And then we can try to work on that, and maybe try to work on some of those shadow aspects of ourselves, and try to show up as a better parent. There's definitely some challenges parenting an HSP kid, being an HSP, but also some beautiful moments in there as well. And I'm actually really grateful that I am an HSP. I recognize these as gifts, and now I can help my son with his stuff, not put on him that I'm annoyed by him, that he's a burden, which is what I felt like as a kid. I don't want him to feel like that at all, and just be able to have a lot of understanding around what he's going through. So I can also, for me, it's like recognizing these traits as gifts now. They're my gifts, and that's what I look to them. So I've shifted the perception of these are a burden and why do I have these, and God, please take these away and make me normal, to, these are my gifts. How can I harness these in a way that can be beneficial to myself and to the people around me and to the collective? That's something I keep working on and learning every day. And it's something I can relay to my son. And if he does get the diagnosis of being, autistic, for example, if that's the label he's given, or highly sensitive, I can share with him that these are gifts and this makes you special, which I'm really grateful to have that, to be able to see it from that lens. So just to summarize, I just want you to come from a place of empowerment with this. If this is you and this is resonating for you, being a highly sensitive person is a gift. It is a gift. It is not a burden. It is not you're not neurotic, maybe a little, but it's a gift, and learning how to harness it in that way and see it from that lens is really important. The other really important thing to do is recognize that it's going to come with unique challenges as a parent, and it's also going to come with its own unique positive strengths as well, and to recognize that too. The most important thing is to maintain some self-awareness around, okay, I'm a highly sensitive person and this is what this means for me, and take care of yourself. Mama, you deserve it. You deserve it. And I get it. I know it's hard. Even if it means 10 minutes in the morning, having your coffee quietly by yourself. Set that time for yourself. Show up to the day in a regulated way. It's going to help you. Check out some of the breathwork that I've provided. Go to bed a little bit earlier. Instead of scrolling your phone when you go to bed, read a couple pages from maybe the highly sensitive child book, or another book that really feels good to you and nurtures you. These small changes are really going to help you once you've recognized your sensitivities, and you're going to feel a lot more, you're going to feel a lot calmer and regulated in an embodied way. And that's really, really important for you as a person. And it's really, really important for your kids. So take that time for yourself, mama, show up for yourself and give yourself the love that you deserve. So I just want to say again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate you being here. I am so excited to connect with like-minded people like myself, and I'm so grateful to have you here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you feel so inclined, please like, subscribe, share. If this resonates with you or someone you know, share it and let them know about it and the resources too. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Blessings.